I want you all to become full members of the Foot.
In the past, I did a video comparing the two different 3D animated designs of the Ninja Turtles, the 2012 Ninja Turtles animated show and the 2007 TMNT movie. And I thought it was pretty cool seeing the differences between the two designs and how they made them both work. Also, checking out the comment section, looking at what you guys thought of both designs. It was pretty even. Both iterations of the Turtles got a lot of love in that video. The look or the design of the Ninja Turtles is something that is just such a big part of the brand that for generations and generations to come will probably be one of the most talked about things about the franchise. How the team looks has been changed a number of times, design-wise. Since the Mirage days to the shows to the movies, sometimes the design looks badass and expectations are surpassed, like the first live-action movie. It was like we were seeing real walking, talking turtles in the actual sewers of New York in real life. But other times it strays a bit too far and the turtles end up looking a bit weird. Now, when it comes to 2D animated versions of the TMNT, most recent iterations being Rise of the TMNT and Batman vs. the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles both come to mind. But back in the day, we had two other 2D animated versions that were both pretty awesome: Ninja Turtles, the original 1987 series, and the 2003 show Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's these two that I want to focus on today and go over some of the details, changes that were made throughout the years, and ask the question, which show had the better design, in your opinion, of course. Now, before we get started, I just want to remind you, if you're new to the channel and you want more turtles in your life, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. That's all we talk about on here is new, old, and upcoming turtle stuff. The 1987 show made waves that can still be felt to this day. TMNT merch out there today can still be seen with these character designs on them. It's incredibly everlasting, probably the most everlasting design out of any of the versions of the TMNT so far. Those early designs will probably still be on merchandise till the end of time. I don't think I've seen any of the version of the TMNT last as long on merchandise as that original show's version. These designs are that 80s, 90s style of art that had things like the limbs and muscles looking very similar to how they look in real life if you're in good shape. Big contrast to how shows have changed over the years, stylizing humanoid characters in a more angular, sharp-edged fashion. I remember seeing the transition to this art style in many shows as the years went on, and it's pretty much how a lot of animated shows are done today. If not this angular style, then maybe a more just stylized art style that works for some shows. But I still think that more rounded, real-world look to the bodies and muscles, almost as if you traced a photograph of someone's physique, still holds a lot of powers. Now, when it comes to the designs, they're all pretty much palette swaps of each other, which I see it get flack for sometimes, but I don't mind the palette swaps. I think they're kind of cool, especially when some characters that are palette swaps have that opposite or rivalry type relationship to their mashup. Anyways, they all have that classic Ninja Turtles headband with small short tie-offs, and their faces are that puffy, classic look everybody knows. I like the way they would do it in some episodes where they would draw the line down the nose. It almost gave it like a 3D look to it. The way the torso looks, I always thought was cool as well. The top two squares of the front of the shell look like chest muscles the way they're rounded off. It flows good with the rest of their body's muscles and just made them look strong. You just wanted to get your hands on one of these action figures, and the figures did not disappoint. The color scheme of the 87 show's version of the Turtles is pretty unique, having the Turtles sport their individual colors on their elbow pads, knee pads, and wrist straps. Now, the belt of the 87 Turtles is that brown color, and they also have their initials on the buckles, which doesn't get that much love, but I kind of like it. But I'm not a huge fan of the tie-offs underneath the buckle. A small detail, but yeah, to me this area just seemed cooler as a solid belt, the way it was done in the 1990 movie. Now, these are just regular horizontal belts, by the way, no diagonal strap on any of the Turtles, an element that was changed for future incarnations of like Leo and Donnie, the color and designs of the back of the shells was always something I liked about this design. I like how the time was taken to draw every hump and divider of the humps on the ridge of the shell. I also like that the crevices are a darker brown to the actual panels of the shell, which are a lighter brown. Now, the design in later seasons of this show went through some changes. Many of you that were around this time may remember this was around the time the Red Sky intro was introduced. But some of you that may be unfamiliar with the design change, it happened around later seasons and it made the look a bit more edgy and dark. Most likely they were trying to recapture the tone of the 1990 movie, which had a lot of success, as was hinted in that new Red Sky intro at the time. And probably at the same time they were most likely taking a look at the success of Batman the Animated Series, which was this cool new dark show that was going on. Now this new look had some noticeable changes. The look around the mouth area was not as rounded as before and a bit more squared off around the edges. Also around the eyes, the green skin around the eyes and the eyelids are more noticeable. The bodies look pretty similar to the previous version's look, but the belts on the turtles were now a lighter brown, almost looked like a khaki color. I actually kind of like this look. Not sure if I liked it more than how it looked before. I guess the original opening sequence when their theme song is playing and the first few episodes of the show probably got these turtles looking the best, but this later 87 design was pretty cool too. I remember thinking back then that it was awesome that they were going in a darker tone, but at this point the show was winding to an end. Maybe it was a little bit too late, but this darker look did appear to be a bit of a precursor to the next version of the turtles that we got that we're about to take a look at right now. The 2003 show came and the turtles looked pretty sweet starting off. This first look they had in the early seasons is probably my favorite 2D look of the turtles that has come out thus far. I feel like there's some room for another 2D design to come along and take its place at the top at some point. Maybe if they were similar to these early 2003 designs, but with a little bit more of that gritty, detailed look similar to 80s and 90s anime, that would be perfect. Or if they took that one animated short from a few years back and used those designs. Anyways, for the turtles at the time, this new design was good. They looked badass, their physique was cool, they were all slightly different tones of green, and of course the all white eyes looked fantastic. Now the new designs look good, at least to me, as it was that art style that resembles a 2D look of limbs and body parts that would be similar to humanoid anatomy in the real world for the most part, but hints of that jagged, angular, hard-edged style could be seen starting to show up in little elements. It wasn't as rounded as the 87 show, but it wasn't that noticeable at the start. The headband style of the turtles was the regular turtle headbands. I like those the best. Not so much the pirate style or others we've seen, just the regular style. These had longer tie-offs though, which are my favorite. The longer tie-offs is the way to go in my opinion. Now, this design went with making the knee and elbow pads and wrist straps that brown leather color. The belt was also brown, but they did not go the way of the 1990 movie, where it looks just like a regular strap. Instead, they had a tie-off type belt. Also, Leo in this version has a diagonal strap sometimes, but other times he doesn't. Now, when it comes to the shell, the back of it is light green, and the pattern on the back has panels like the 87 turtles, but it's a little bit more simplistic. I prefer the color and overall design of the 87 turtles back of the shell. This one isn't bad though. When it comes to the front, the torso part of the shell, I think I'm leaning towards liking the 2003 design a little better on this aspect. I like the little separations of the chest panels in the 87 turtles, but the overall shape of the torso of the 2003 turtles looks good. Now, just like the 87 turtles, the design went through changes as the seasons went on. Now, I don't know if they changed the technology they used to animate or draw, or if they got different animators, but later on, as they transitioned into the fast forward season, everything on the turtles looked pretty similar to the beginning of this show's first look, but undoubtedly the angles on the face and the body were a lot more sharper, jagged, and simplified. In my opinion, it didn't look as nice. Anyways, later on, they get those suits that help them walk around. They receive those panels that went on their arm and across their chest, and also those shin pad things. And this was part of the design for the rest of the fast forward season. Also, the belts on the turtles were now color coordinated, each turtle wearing their individual colors. Now, after this, the look went through even more changes as the show went into its back to the sewer season. Turtles went back, at least when it comes to accessories that they wore, to the original original setup with the brown belt and elbow pads. But the most notable change at this point was that they no longer had all white eyes. They instead were given these oversized cute eyes, I guess is the best way I can put it. The design also appeared to get even more angular and looked like it had lost a lot of detail since the last change. Now this one's kind of hard. Both designs are pretty good. The 2003 show started off so strong, but at the same time the 87 show's look is so iconic. Merch, long after we're all gone, will still have the 87 Turtles on it, plus the way they look in that opening sequence and the first few episodes of the show. I don't know. This one's a hard one to call. I lean more towards the 2003 show, but let me know down below what you guys think. Curious to see what your guys' comments are on this one. What 2D animated design out of these two versions do you prefer? The 87 Turtles or the 2003 Turtles? Both are pretty awesome. I really don't think there's a wrong answer on this one, but still, out of curiosity, I'd like to see what you guys have to say. Leave your comments down below, but that's it for this video. Maybe I'll talk about the other 2D versions, Rise of the TMNT and Batman vs. the Ninja Turtles, at a future date. That should be a cool one to cover. But that's it. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember to hit subscribe, give the channel a follow on the social medias as well. It's a good way to stay in touch, and I'll see you in a little bit with another video. Take care.